Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Are you all ready to dive into the world of words and creativity? Welcome back to another live session. I'm Mahi Sharma from Team Booknerds, and today, folks, we have a real treat for you. We have with us the versatile and accomplished author Amol Redij, a man with many creative hats. Hailing from the vibrant city of Mumbai, Amol is a captivating blend of literary excellence, technological prowess, and creative endeavors. He is a tech expert with a passion for literature. His journey started as a website developer, and he holds several industry recognized IT certifications. In 2011, he started focusing away from his IT professionalism and started diving into the world of literatures. In 2011 he ventured into the world of poetry with Silent Moments of Melancholy, his debut book, followed by 69, the Otherwise Poetry, and his recently released book is titled Acathexis, A Detached Void. Hello, Amol.
Hello,
Uh,
hi.
his recently titled book is Acathexis, A Detached Void. Beyond poetry, Amol's contribution extend to many creative pursuits, from filmmaking to script writing, theatre, and content creation, where he has also worked in several award-winning short films. Thank you, Amol, for joining us. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm sure it will be a fun and enlightening session for us
Of
all.
course, my pleasure, and thank you so much to you and your team for getting this coordinated, sorted, and for having this session done finally.
So I have had the pleasure of reading your poems, and I can say that I have noticed a distinct style reflected in your poems. So, what experiences or stories have inspired your theme of emotive trilogy?
Uh, well, there's a quite range of I wouldn't say experiences, but definitely they are observations and very stock observations. I wouldn't say like very gruesomely dark, but something which were painful, like pricking, and which any normal mind or a sane mind wouldn't readily accept. But yes, since like my growing up years, I've seen things around. I have uh, noticed people experiencing those kind of feelings and undergoing uh, like the spectrum of emotions, from like exploitation to self-greed to like being very compassionate to being uh, very self-giving and all those kind of things. So what I have imbibed into my poetry is more of these observations and what people uh, generally feel but may not be able to emote. So I have tried to sort of capture that string of emotions and weave some words around it and like bring it forth that there exist people who have you know not, and it should be spelled out. It should be known that a human being is not necessarily only about laughs and tears, joys and sadness. So there's a broad range of emotions that people go through, and that's what has been an attempt of my poetry.
And I guess like your poetry would resonate even better in the coming scenario where, not everything has to be hunky dory. There are aspects which are sadder, which are not easier to which are not easier to accept. And I believe the readers can therefore like attract more to your story and your poems.
Yeah, I hopefully think so, and that's primarily the objective of why I would want to bring it out. Not that I cannot write roses are red and violets are blue kind of things, but that's a very with due respect to all the people lovers of poetry of that genre, but uh, it has been covered and it has been vastly covered. So and I have read certain things like my inspiration towards writing has been more of through reading very philosophical books or very absurdist kind of things, and rather than, I mean, at the age when people were reading probably Secret Seventh and Hardy Boys, I was sitting with Somerset Maugham or Albert Camus and Friedrich Nietzsche. So that's where that thinking changed about this uh, everything does not have to be pink and blue. There can be gray, and there can be lots of gray. So which is where this thought came, which culminated into uh, people like these have written things, and there are things which I have observed, And even, I mean, there it opened up a, uh, say an entire bouquet for me. Yes, I can contribute to this. Until then, it was like writing was, I used to write the greeting card poems for my friends for their respective crushes and etc. Not that I did not write for mine, but not so much. So that's when I really found that essence of writing very attractive. So it was very uh, coming very easy to me. I mean, if you ask me to write a romantic poem, probably I'll take 3-4 days. But something which is very observational, something which is very not necessarily painful, but something which is not agreeable usually to in the societal state of things. So that is very natural for me. I would say I'm a rebel in that sense.
Yeah, like your poems have a somewhat like, I've not read many poems, but the few I've read, I could see that your work stood out because there was like the theme was so much different than what I've usually read, and your rebellious personality was reflected in there.
Yes, yes.
So I successfully accomplished what you wanted to do.
Yes, it was a brave attempt, and I did not wanted to follow that normal thing of uh, writing a very usual kind of very rhyming kind of things. So I wanted it very abstract, very absurdist kind of thing, because I also learned while I was learning theater during my school. I learned the theater of the absurd, and which was much more attractive than just doing Romeo and Juliet.
You were a different personality from your
I,
childhood.
I think so.
Okay, so like as you said, poetry often explores personal experiences and forms of self-expression. But like, how do you balance between writing your poetry for yourself from your personal experiences and connecting with a broader audience?
See, I think what I observe is observed by everybody. Okay? It's not something which is uh, only for my viewing, gamut, or only something which is only broadcasted or telecasted for me. People around are observing, and there are lots of things to. As a with the writer's bent of mind, probably it is very. It becomes a little simpler for me to decipher observations, to like get the of what actually could have been going on. It's not necessarily that actual happening which I write, but what could might have led to that particular experience or observation, or that incident taking place. What could be the repercussions of that happening? So that is very something which is very instinctively catches my mind, and with the the game of words, I am able to translate those things into um, structured poetry. I would say. It's a very free verse. It does not follow any pattern rhythm. I do take care that it falls in meter, because it's when you're reading poetry there has to be certain meter which you follow, but not necessarily it should rhyme or it should So observations are there plenty everywhere. Everyone observes. There are some who can go back and just think about, contemplate, make some self changes in them through those observations. Some like to emote, some would like to discuss through extempore or any public discussion. Some would go and make a movie about it. Someone, like for me, I write.
I think a major portion of it also comes to that you are a very observant person. Like not everybody is observant. Everybody is busy drinking their own coffee. But I would say like you are a very observant person, and therefore your writing has come forth through that observation. And
Yes.
yeah,
So observation, definitely yes, because that has been like because I used to do theater during my school days, so that skill comes from there, because uh, I was taught, and as many would know, acting is basically reacting, and you react to a particular observation, which
yeah.
you witness, you encounter. So that is very natural in me. So and to put that thing into practice also. Uh, I mean, of course, I have had the liberty to travel in cabs and planes and flights and everywhere, but I've often chosen to do the public transport, go into crowded places, and uh, walk into like restaurants, and because there are a range of personalities which you can get into. You do not necessarily go and listen to their conversations, but yes. their expressions, and it's all about inferring what you observe. So maybe they could be talking about something, but by the expression of what they could be talking, you derive something, and that with that sense and capability, I think I have that in me to derive some poetic format out of it, and express it in that way.
Okay, so here has asked, what do you enjoy most about writing poetry?
Oh, see, I feel very relieved when I write poetry. So if there is something which has captivated my mind, and uh, that thought shouldn't stay in my mind for more than. So if I have witnessed, observed, experienced something today, by tomorrow morning, latest, it usually happens on the spot, but latest. I mean, it it has to get into that, because it will keep disturbing me. It
Yeah.
will keep making me very nervous. So the whole enjoyment of writing that poetry is to get that feeling of that I have done it.
So
Whatever
poetry
thought
therapy.
I wanted to say has come down into words on a piece of paper or typed on a mobile or whatever, but it has come out. So it may not be perfect the very first time, but the thing that it has from my brains, it has moved into ink and paper, is what I feel very excited about.
That's nice. So like you can say that poetry writing for you is like a form of therapy.
Yes, 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 definitely.
Okay. I have always wondered, like, when authors write something and then they can't believe that they wrote it because it's so profound and deep that you can't comprehend your brain wrote it. Like, I won't say it to the level of authors, but it has happened sometimes with
Okay.
me. So, could you share a few lines from your poems or which you like found the most best that could come from you?
Oh, let me just. Uh, yeah, there are few in particular uh, which have hit me hard, and for which the when I first time wrote it, and when I sent it out to a couple of few friends and seniors whom I know in that particular domain or that fraternity. So it has come from them that I mean, to simply put it, it was something like ये कैसे लिखा तूने? So so the answer to that is I don't know कैसे लिखा मैंने, but uh, it's done. So yes, there are few, but few of them. Just let me just quickly brush through and see if I can. Uh, ah, okay, perfect. So I like this a poem called Absence. Okay, so if I can cover it uh, very briefly, I think I was going through a period where uh, I I wasn't able to, like I said, that that relieving moment. I couldn't find that relieving moment. Chaos in my brain, but it just that somehow wasn't uh, getting translated into words. And I wouldn't call it writer's block because I don't believe in one. Uh, okay, so but yeah, so all that state of that chaos and that frustration, that anger, it came out in a different format. It itself formed the poetry, so which I certainly read out to you. The poem name is Absence. The words in my lines, the lines in my poems, the poems on my pages, the pages in my book, the books of my life remain empty, blank and bland, echoing the deafening absence. So this is something which I'm not able to write. There's nothing coming to me. I mean, there is lots in my mind, but I'm not words. So that entire voice captured in these few lines, and which was like, so after this, then that there was a flood of things happening. So I wrote almost like 11, 12 if I can remember correctly. At least a dozen of poems after this.
So, like, even when you have writer blocks, you can produce a poem. It's like that.
See, which is what I said. I don't believe in writer's block basically. Now, this could be very defined to what the norms which exist. I would define writer's block as mere laziness.
That's a very unique take on this thing, I would say. Okay, so poetry often resonates deeply with readers on a personal level. It's like the metaphors and hidden meanings that strike a chord with them. So, like, has there ever been a particular moment where feedback from a reader or a mentor to your work had a significant impact on you? And, because it's just something that stays in your heart forever and, like, it helps you on days when you're feeling low.
Uh, yes, like I mentioned, I had the uh, a panel of very senior writers and editors, though not necessarily in English always. So I knew Mr. Arun Sadhu, who's like no more now, but he has been a great writer. He has been a columnist, and there's uh, a very great historical movie made in Marathi based on his short story. The movie name is Samna. So Arun Sadhu had praised my poetry. So it was during like when I first started writing, and then we thought of this should come out as the silent moments of melancholy, and coming it from a person like that who's like who's known in the Marathi literature so widely, a person like telling me that this is like beyond thinkable was something very encouraging. So and I remember the piece of advice that he gave me, so don't think about what you're writing, write what you want to write, and then think what will happen to it. So just
Oh,
let your
that's like
give the path to your words, let them find their way.
that's so good. Like, give a part to your words, let them find their way. I think every writer should like attach to it because sometimes you think that what I'm writing is rubbish, but what may be rubbish for you might not be the same for others. Like, it may
Right,
resonate deeply with
right,
others.
right. So yes, so that is what one thing he said, that don't throw away whatever you write. It it can be, in some form it can be used somewhere. So uh, no piece of writing, whatever you write, you just have to keep preserve it. Okay.
Yeah.
But one thing that you have to do, that you have to write it down. I mean, like on paper, on mobile, or laptop, whatever. Because if it stays on your mind beyond 3 days, you will not be able to remember it. 3 days is a much longer period, he says. I often forget within 3 hours also. So
So you must have like a notepad handy to just like, pen
I
down your thoughts every
uh,
time you see something
I
new.
actually on recently, like I have been using mobile for last like more than 2 years now actually. Since 2000. But then recently, like in last 7-8 years, so with the advancement, so I have this voice note, so
Yeah.
quickly if there's anything, I just talk it out into the phone and it gets recorded. I go back, listen to it, and then type it out. Then we have some speech to text recognition tools now, which just use read and it types out. So all that things are there, but I, of course, the fun that I have with pen and paper is different. It's orgasmic.
Okay, so Vasudha Sharma has asked, Sir, do you have a poem from your new book that surprisingly occurred to you without any thought beforehand?
Oh no, no, I wouldn't say any poem has happened without a thought. There has to be some thought behind everything. At least I can say it for myself that so it wouldn't be something that चलो आज कुछ लिख देते हैं तो लिख दिया. So it has never.
Okay.
So, So without a thought, definitely no. Instinctive, probably yes. But then it took some time to give it a format and structure it. I'm not saying by formatting and structuring, I don't mean editing. I don't mean changing thoughts or changing feelings. It's just that it should be in that particular meter. So when you read it out, it doesn't sound like you're reading a paragraph. So that care has to be taken.
We just found a fan, GB, who said she's a huge fan of your otherwise
Thank
poetry.
you so much. Yeah, that was meant to be people who think otherwise.
That's a compliment, JB.
And wise, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so like words can be a powerful medium for addressing societal issues because, as said, pen is mightier than the sword.
Mhm.
So, have your poems ever tried to shed light on any particular issue or societal theme? And what message do you hope to convey through it?
Um, yes, I have written and I do write, and recently with the times around, uh, I have been very vocal with my that kind of like uh, writing on societal issues, writing on what's happening with the system, what is what is. I'm not writing about what is right. I'm writing about what is wrong, and why it shouldn't be wrong. So yes, I definitely do take a stand on those things, and I'm very strongly writing about it. Uh, so I have faced three notifications for Twitter from Twitter already. But yeah, definitely it will see a form of book, but I wouldn't be making it a commercial kind of thing. So it will be just available on social media or free to read platforms. But because that has to reach out to a larger audience, because things which definitely should be thought about, and for us as readers, as wise readers, those are action items. So that I mean, I would do injustice if being a writer I don't cater to those kind of things, and I don't mean to start a movement or a revolution, but I would definitely want my lines being read and being thought over. So definitely yes, and you can look up my Instagram page. So there are lots of which I have written in the on the current issues which are not happening right, and things around that. Yes,
And I guess it becomes like, if you are at a huge platform or you have the capacity to influence people with your words, you should use them for issues that affect people on a larger basis, like on a higher level. So I guess you should use your words then.
definitely, definitely. I mean, it is mandate for anyone who writes, or probably even if someone who can just type out should do that.
Yeah, because like thoughts are thoughts.
Yes,
People make resonate with them or they may not, but it's
right.
okay. Thoughts are thoughts.
Yes, yes.
So inspiration can strike from anywhere, as you just said. And I felt like, sometimes you just listen to a song and you can create a whole story on it based just on its vibe. And many authors also have specific writing rituals. Like maybe they sit at a particular place and then they meditate or something like that. So do you also have a ideal writing environment or quirky habits?
Uh, I like dirty places too. I mean, I like to be in very shady bars. I like travel in, shared autos. So though those are my moments of inspiration. I don't like, I mean, I like watching movies in multiplexes, but then if I have to hang around, I'll find some single screen where, any anyone can walk in and there is still samosa and popcorn being sold at normal rates. So I like those kind of places because that's where I'll get the true uh, emotions which people go through. I'm not saying that others cover it or try to be flamboyant or camouflage it in some way, but that's where I find these rustic environments and people's more inspiring than those uh, because my style of writing and the inspiration which I get, it is very dark, and it has to hit
Yeah.
hard. So I cannot be writing about Ambani's Antilia. So I have to write someone who's from a jhopdi.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Um, One thing that I've noticed is that like all your books have a unique cover and the titles are a story in themselves. Like the titles itself are so different from what you usually read. So how do you come up with such visual and literary elements for all your collections?
Right. So after I have finalized, that now I have enough to come out with the collection. Then, uh, of course, when I am finalizing the poems, I do get a sense of why I am categorizing those 68, 69, or like 126 in this case. Why these 126? Because they follow a particular pattern. So yeah, I get that string of emotions which I have to follow, and with that, while doing that, I do get that creative visualization as to what I want to uh, look at, or what I want to show to people. So every cover page of mine has been worked upon for at least 6 months. The only the getting the creative correct. Then comes the digitalization. Then comes the actually doing it on the your Photoshop or those kind of softwares. So it is all basically first hand drawn. The
Okay.
concept explanation itself takes about 1.5 months, and some amount of weed also sometimes. So, but yes, so there is a lot of work which goes on in designing the cover page, because that has to be very attractive, not in the sense in the beauty part of it, but it has to be distinctly noticed. So which is where that entire thought process, and which is why all such kind of creative illustrations that you see. And regards to the titles, as I said, that when I'm selecting those poems which are going to be part of it, so it has to follow that particular theme. And the first part, which I said, the silent moments of melancholy, which is absolutely about betrayals and despair, though not heartbreak. Of course, it's not a Devdasish kind of poetry, but it's all about when you don't get something that you want, or you
Yeah.
don't uh, your wishes are not fulfilled. So that, and you go into some kind of a very lonely kind of situation where like nothing is going right, and I'm useless. This world doesn't care for me. Okay, that kind of thing. So that is when the melancholy steps in, and uh, which is happening. And then when I thought about the second book, so now you are mentally deprived, but there are some certain physical needs also, not necessarily sensual. But so that is when the thought about doing those kind of otherwise poetry came in, and hence the title, and then working around that title of why 69, and why 69 poems in that particular book. And the third was like, if you don't get any, then neither mentally being fulfilled nor you're physically being accepted, then your last stage is you're completely detached. You're like absolute more vacuumer than a zero, which is where Acathexis happens, which is a state of mind which, if you don't care for me, I don't care for you. I am going to behave in this manner.
This is like, okay, so all the three, the trilogy,
Yes.
the emotive trilogy follows the pattern, like either this, then this. If none of these, then
Then,
these. Like, can resonate, your emotive trilogy can resonate with all people. Like,
yes,
there are three distinct types of people, and it can resonate with all of
right.
them. So that's great. Also, like you did shed light on the like the process behind novel making. Like you write for most probably several months. Then you spend time on discussing the cover. Then you spend time on like defining the title, and it's like it's a tedious process, I would
Yes,
say.
yes, yes. So, uh, the first book, which came out in 2011, Silent
Yeah.
Moments of Melancholy. So I had finished writing those poems in 2009. Okay. After that, it was that all about I wanted to get published with so and so, so and so. That letter writing, rejection, this that happened. All the while when the cover page and things were getting designed. So I think 2 years went in finalizing the publisher and the cover page. So see, that is what happens. Like, and I wouldn't attribute it to me being a Virgo or a September born, but I like perfection.
Okay.
So if it has to be done, then it has to be done in the right way, and I have to be satisfied with it. And even if the creative designer says कि ये बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, नहीं इसमें इधर काला नहीं इसको पीला चाहिए. So and you might have probably experienced. So it has to be that way. If it has to be in that particular manner, that discipline is what I follow. Even if I am erratic with my writing, but there is a discipline in that process of how things have to happen.
So like basically, it's your work. You should be the one who should be happy with it.
Right, right.
By the way, have you ever collaborated with other artists such as illustrators or musicians? Because many creative minds coming together, it's sure to like expand your reach. So like, have you ever collaborated?
Yeah, I used to be a part of English theater group in Pune here. So which is when I had a lot of uh, one of the person who did my the 69 cover page was from that group. He was a doodler basically. So they were percussionists, they were singers, they were performing artists, they were mime artists. So we have done that. So we used to have poetry slams, club combined with
Mhm.
miming workshops, or like mask workshops where you don't actually make masks, but then you uh, behave like somebody else. So which is where we had my poetry being used as a voiceover or a background voice, like a voice kind of thing, and people enacting that. So yes, I have done that, and it was fun to do that, but it could not sustain. But that's fine. It's
But it was a surreal moment when it was
yes,
because just seeing your work being displayed to a larger
yes,
audience.
yes, yes. So we used to perform at like malls and quite a few restaurants, cafes. So we did that. Yes, for almost about 2 years we were active.
Okay. So like as you said, it's a huge process to stand on your own as a poet or as an author. And building your brand as an author is important. So what advice would you give to aspiring writers to establish their own voice?
Be honest and be brutally honest. So
Okay.
don't uh, like I do. Just get it out of your mind, because the more it keeps within you, it will make you frustrated. Basically, that I want to do this, but it's I'm not able to come out with it. Is a Don't keep it as an excuse, because I don't feel we are that incapable not to exhibit our feelings or emotions, whatever form
Yeah.
it is. Not just in poetry, but in whatever form. Even if you can talk to your mobile or talk to yourself in the mirror, which is also fine, that can translate into something being written eventually. So express, and just don't be afraid of anything. You have to be honest about what you are good at. What happens to it is a different thing that you cannot control. Okay, so tomorrow either nobody reads or the entire world reads
Yeah.
is is a different game. But that you have been able to honestly express yourself is your forte. That should be
I guess
the
yeah, that's why like podcasts, as we have seen, they have seen a huge rise because people are just letting out their emotions. They don't care if it reaches to the audience or they resonate with it. It's just like I want to vent it off my chest and I'm doing that.
right, right, yes, and that's the need, because it it in a way relaxes you, because I mean the world is full of tensions now. There is stress everywhere, and
That is true.
if along with that, if undergo with your own stress of thoughts or thoughts of stress, that is going to pull you down much more. So while you are handling the external elements of stress and all the tensions and frustrations, at least be self-loving and caring to yourself, that at least whatever is inside you, you vent it out.
Okay, so like your writing style is different. So the authors, other authors that you read or other poems do you read, are they from the same genre or have you branched out in other genres? So like give us the author recommendations.
I absolutely love, admire, and respect Albert Camus. So he has been my sort of a mentor. I mean, like I mean, the first book which I read, and which like it was like I want to write something like this, was The Outsider. It's an it was an absolute Bible for me at that point, and I was in my ninth standard. And fortunately enough, I mean, our school library had access to these kind of books, and it just blew me off. It's a very tiny, thin book. Okay, it was recommended. My English teacher recommended that to me. That I mean, the kind of stuff she usually saw me reading. So she recommended
Okay.
that to me, and I was just like, uh, this is what I want to write. I mean, I want to write something like this. Okay, the first line of that book is mind blowing. It just blew me off at that age, and it still does today. The first line is "Mama died yesterday. I don't know what to do." That is the
Oh,
opening.
okay. That's like,
Yeah,
that is different stuff than what we usually read.
Camus for me is in a way a god, and all his books are my Bibles. So that is my benchmark. That you know, if I have to write, it has to be of that caliber. And I mean, of course, I don't know whether I'll be there, or even comparing myself to him is probably a sin at this point. But yes, if someday uh, I can manage to get somewhere around that, it would be like a total nirvana, or like whatever bliss and mukti for me. So
Okay,
that
so like Albert Camus is the one who inspired you to read books, and although I can say that the contribution to this can also go to your English teacher who recommended you this.
yes, and
It was the stepping stone.
I somehow found her on Facebook. Just sorry to digress, but I just want to make this point here. I found her on Facebook, and she said, "Oh, you started writing your books and this," and she gave me her address, and she told me that I want to read all your books. So I had couriered all my books to her in Coimbatore, and she replied that this is fantastic. I never expected this to happen, but I think my teachings have paid off. Well, I told her that your teachings have paid off much beyond what even I expected. I mean, I have gone through all those uh, beatings of the foot rulers and pinches on my elbows, but that all has paid off.
It must have been like a surreal moment for your teacher as well as for you,
Yes,
because
yes,
seeing your student shine so bright,
correct,
it's
correct.
like a great moment. Okay,
So
so the page turners, yeah, sure,
no,
continue.
I
Sorry for that.
just wanted to mention one more author name which I like. I mean, one Kiran Nagarkar is an Indian, and whom I had the fortune to meet once. And though I had read his all his books like Ravan and Eddy, 7 6 43, Jasoda, and bedtime stories. His style of writing, I found it in much more parallel with Albert Camus and Somerset Maugham. In the contemporary term, in like he used the Indian backdrops to write similar kind of things, and so that stuck. And the fact that his one of his book, I mean, it was first a play which he wrote, and which was
Okay.
27 years, and then it came out as a book. So I love these kind of writers who write so daringly that they don't mind getting banned for several years, because they are true, they are honest, that this is my writing and this is what I'll give you. So I like that honesty.
The page turner speaks has asked, what was the first poem you wrote? Was it something with rhyming words? Because the first poem I wrote, I only focused on rhyming words.
I don't remember. I think it should be rhyming because, like I said, in my school days, used to write those 4 lines or couplets for the greeting cards to be given on certain days to certain lovable people by my classmates and things like that. So it could have been rhyming, because that at that point, no, the person receiving it may not have accepted it and very existential and very outright blasting poems on the days that it was supposed to be given. So yes, it definitely would have been sweet, something like roses are red, violets are blue, and something like that. And yes, the first poem I read at that point, we used to have this Hallmark greeting cards along with Archie's. So I wrote a lot of greeting cards for Archie, for Hallmark. So all those messages about Valentine's Day and this day and that day. So yes,
So
it
now,
could have been rhyming. It at that point, my first poem definitely would have been rhyming and sweet. That I can assure.
and now your work has taken a complete 180 from that theme,
Yes,
from that Hallmark Valentine theme.
because at that point I was exploring whether I could write or no. But Then I found that yes, I can write. I can write poetry. I wrote skits for my school, programs. I wrote one entire play. So I knew I could write, but I was not like, I was still in that dilemma whether should I write this? Am I made to write this? And then it is when that these, you know, very intelligent people came across, and then I changed my course. I said, no, I want to write this. This is the kind of writing I want to write.
That must have been an exhilarating journey
Yes, yes,
to find
def-
your own theme.
yes.
Okay, so Not a Bookaholic has asked, what do you hope readers take away from your poem?
I think you should take. You should feel empowered to uh, be able to write, or not even write actually, to express. So take it as something that maybe not makes sense to a large number of people. Like what I usually market my poetry among few groups is, if there are, let 100 people not read my poetry, I'm fine. But there should be 10 people who should read and discuss for at least 10 minutes about it. I am happy. So
Yeah,
that can be an objective of whatever you want to express. So that should be that. I mean, I don't know if it should be a takeaway or not, but definitely if there's something that you want to derive out of my books or my writings, poetry or otherwise on different platforms, then that is something. Don't be afraid. So I mean, writers should not be afraid. Basically, we are the most powerful people.
that is true. Also, like I feel like poems have different metaphors, so it depends on readers, like how do they presume it.
Yes,
It might become something different from what the author meant to write as, but every reader should take away like what they feel like they could relate to from the poems.
that's absolutely correct. Right. So
Okay,
I'm
so
a well full of dead bodies, but dead bodies for me would be like, it could be a corpse or an empty well. So
yeah,
that's for the like the reader to interpret.
poems can be subjective, but
Yes,
they are very good means to evoke emotions.
yes.
Okay, so now before we wrap up, can we get a little sneak peek into what you're currently working on? Like, some hints or insights on your upcoming projects for our eager audience.
Okay, so there are still about uh, 300 poems which I'm sifting through to probably turn it into a fourth book, probably sometime next year. Okay, so that's in the process, about which all to take, how many to take, and so that's at a very very naive stage actually. But what I am very eagerly and constantly working on is my novel, my uh,
Okay.
which I started writing in 2008, but was only able to complete around say 2016. Then 2 years into peer editing and friends editing, and then professional editing and all that. Then 1 year was into the cover page design and coming up with the tag. So now I'm ready, and yeah, I'm in talks with two publishers to do that. So hopefully early next year, first quarter of the next year. So debut novel again, no romance, brutal.
Couldn't
I,
expect
I don't
romance.
care of like I don't care of things protagonist. But of course, fun to read. You get a lot of hues and shades of what a single person can uh, diversify into different personalities. So that is going to be an experience to read, I would say, and you'll get to know a bit about the Bombay landscapes and things like that, how Bombay used to be and it how things changed, and that has been shown in many movies and many books, of course. But then again, through that, the main lead character's perspective, how things change and why he changed according to the things changing around, and and again a very nihilist kind of theme to the book again. So that's one thing. And immediately at hands is I'm producing my fourth film, short film. So which we are
Oh
working.
wow.
Uh, Casting location and things have been done. So we start our shoot on 3rd of October. So maybe by December you will have the fourth film to watch from us.
Well, all the best for both of your coming works. The premise of your novel sounds really promising, and
Yes,
I'm sure it will be as much a hit as these poems were.
definitely.
Um, and that brings us to the end of our incredible live session. Thank you, Amol, for joining us and sharing your valuable insights with us. It was truly an honor and a privilege to have you here with us.
Thank you so much.
Uh, to the wonderful audience, thank you for making this live session a truly special one, for your engaging remarks and your thoughtful questions. For those who want to stay connected with Amol, you can check out his social media and his website and stay updated for his coming works. He has already hinted on those. So stay updated on those. And all the books will be, you can find all the books available in the bio. You can also follow Team Book Nerds on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and many other social platforms to stay updated on more such live sessions. Happy reading. We look forward to connecting with you all again. Until then, take care, stay curious, and keep exploring the world of literature. Thank you.
Thank you.